Fans in stormtrooper costumes, a hugely secretive production, and major shade from the director of Gremlins. The truth about The Mandalorian might shock even the most dedicated fans. When the first episode of The Mandalorian hit Disney Plus in 2019, it came with a very big reveal, as well as debuting a season-long plotline that hadn't been mentioned in any media or trailers that preceded the series. The Mandalorian worked hard to ensure that the existence of Baby Yoda would be kept a secret before the show's premiere. The first season, of course, focuses on Din Djarin, a solitary Mandalorian who must transport and protect the child, a cute creature that was quickly nicknamed Baby Yoda by fans. Series creator Jon Favreau decided to remain secretive about the project after heeding the words of Donald Glover, who played Lando Calrissian in Solo: A Star Wars Story. Favreau explained to The Hollywood Reporter, Glover was saying that what people really like now is to be surprised, because it doesn't happen that much. When Beyoncé did an album, she would just put it online and everybody would react to it. Just putting it out there spurred a conversation that would become more viral and bring more genuine attention than any marketing. Disney executives agreed with the approach and kept all imagery of Baby Yoda, who was eventually named Grogu, out of marketing materials. Before The Mandalorian, Pedro Pascal was best known for his role on Game of Thrones. When producers first approached him about playing the lead in The Mandalorian, he was apparently reluctant. In fact, Pascal's close friend Oscar Isaac, who plays Poe Dameron in the Star Wars sequel trilogy, was the one who convinced him to take the role.
You're welcome. I convinced him to do it.
The Jedi Ahsoka Tano, who previously appeared in multiple animated Star Wars projects, first appears in Season 2 of The Mandalorian. For the live-action version of the character, producers hired Rosario Dawson following a successful viewer campaign. She later told Vanity Fair, "It first came from fans online. Someone tweeted me and fancast me. I retweeted back and I was like, absolutely, yes, please."
Is he speaking? Do you understand him?
Someone on the Star Wars publicity team saw the exchange and sent the thread to producer Dave Filoni, and the rest is history. Some prestigious actors rounded out the cast, with Academy Award nominee Nick Nolte appearing in an unforgettable role. Carl Weathers, noted for his performance as Apollo Creed in Rocky, portrays Greef Karga, while former MMA star and American Gladiator Gina Carano played Cara Dune in the show's first 2 seasons. Critically acclaimed director Werner Herzog stepped in as a pro-Empire crime lord. Meanwhile, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul alum Giancarlo Esposito joined the cast as ex-Imperial officer Moff Gideon. The creative team behind The Mandalorian took inspiration from many mid-20th century works, but they may have borrowed a little too liberally from some more recent pop culture entries. Joe Dante directed both Gremlins and Gremlins 2, the new batch, and he believes that Baby Yoda owes a lot to Gizmo, a furry little creature from his films. Speaking to the San Francisco Chronicle, Dante said, "I think the longevity of Gremlins is really key to this one character, who is essentially like a baby. Which brings me, of course, to the subject of Baby Yoda, who is completely stolen and is just out-and-out copied, shamelessly, I would think. And then there's American Dad, which has been running since 2005. In the episode Persona Assistant, which first aired in February 2019, the alien character Roger develops a tumor, which turns out to be a strange, sentient miniature version of himself. He names the monster, which becomes a recurring American Dad character, Rogu.
His name's Rogu.
Grogu.
While Baby Yoda appears in the first episode of The Mandalorian, the name Grogu wasn't revealed until November 2020. Basically, it's undeniable that both alien babies have nearly identical names.
Grogu?
Season 1 of The Mandalorian wraps up with a confrontation between the titular bounty hunter and villain Moff Gideon. The Mandalorian refused to return Grogu to his dangerous intended recipient, and had to contend with a veritable army of stormtroopers. A lot of anonymous foot soldiers were required for the scene, so many that the production couldn't come up with enough authentic stormtrooper costumes. According to comicbook.com, the makers of The Mandalorian took their problem to Star Wars fans. Producers Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau called upon the Chicago chapter of the 501st Legion, a devoted Star Wars fan and cosplay club. Its members appeared in the final 2 episodes in The Mandalorian Season 1, dressed in their privately owned film-quality stormtrooper costumes which they'd purchased, built, and maintained, which is more than a little impressive. The Mandalorian is the first live-action Star Wars series, and it was the first original series to debut on Disney Plus when the streamer launched in 2019. According to Vanity Fair, when Star Wars production company Lucasfilm decided to pursue small-screen storytelling, President Kathleen Kennedy commissioned input from Iron Man director and known Star Wars enthusiast Jon Favreau. Favreau got to work after a single meeting with Kennedy, writing the first 4 episodes of a show about a Mandalorian, a member of a race of helmet-wearing bounty hunters. There could have been an issue with overlap, as Lucasfilm was also developing a movie about the best-known pre-existing Mandalorian in the Star Wars saga, Boba Fett. However, the problem disappeared when director James Mangold walked away from the Boba Fett movie to make the 5th Indiana Jones film. However, Dave Filoni, the creative force behind several animated Star Wars projects, also wanted to make a TV show about a Mandalorian. Kennedy put Favreau and Filoni in a room, and they got along so well creatively that they combined their ideas into a single project, which became The Mandalorian. As it's set during the storyline of the original Star Wars saga, The Mandalorian is obviously inspired by classic science fiction. Creators, writers, and producers also pulled heavily from other sources, including westerns, 20th century world cinema, and Japanese manga. Star Pedro Pascal told Entertainment Weekly, "The Mandalorian is a mysterious lone gunfighter in the outer reaches of the galaxy. Some might say he has questionable moral character in line with some of our best westerns. The main character's identity is shrouded in secrecy, which is not unlike The Man with No Name in Sergio Leone's Dollars trilogy starring Clint Eastwood." Series producer and writer Dave Filoni also admitted to paying homage to Japanese filmmaker Akira Kurosawa, who influenced Star Wars creator George Lucas. In an interview with Slash Film, Filoni explained, "George's mentor is Akira Kurosawa, and so I've done a lot of study of that. I have a really small Akira Kurosawa figure, and he's in every episode I've directed somewhere in the set." The Mandalorian also appears to crib from Lone Wolf and Cub, a long-running manga series adapted into 3 films. Like Mando and Grogu's toiling around the galaxy, Lone Wolf and Cub concerns a Ronin who roams the wilderness with a child he protects when they run afoul of powerful forces. The entire Star Wars universe owes a huge debt to George Lucas, but The Mandalorian has some specific ties to the filmmaker. For one, the show is heavily inspired by the first Star Wars movie, which Lucas directed, especially the episode's cantina scene. The Mandalorian also uses technology originally developed for the Star Wars prequels, with 20-plus years of technical advancements added in. Giancarlo Esposito, who portrays Moff Gideon on The Mandalorian, revealed that Lucas's input on the series goes even deeper. Speaking to Collider, Esposito discussed the creation of the show's costumes and sets, saying, "Jon Favreau was working with George Lucas on this particular piece, and making it a piece that we can really relate to now in our world that we're in." While Jon Favreau and his team used practical effects as much as they could to capture the handmade charm of the original Star Wars, digital wizardry was key to bringing the exotic world of The Mandalorian to life. It's worth noting that Favreau has a fair amount of experience working on primarily digital movie sets, as he's the person behind Disney's live-action The Lion King and The Jungle Book remakes. To create the jaw-dropping special effects scene in The Mandalorian, the filmmakers utilized the impressive volume technology, which can turn any soundstage into a 360-degree panorama. With the ability to render detailed 3D environments in real time, the team was able to create digital sets that felt truly immersive. Discussing his approach to using new technologies to create the show, Favreau told Variety, "Ultimately, it's the human factor that shapes our path into the future, and it's the people who are innovating in those areas, creating new tools that are going to determine what we inherit and what the future holds." At Star Wars Celebration 2019, Jon Favreau repeatedly emphasized that The Mandalorian would be one giant love letter to the original Star Wars trilogy, and that tribute extends behind the scenes as well. Favreau wants to make sure The Mandalorian feels like our first visit to that galaxy far, far away, and that means embracing some old-school film production techniques. Naturally, CGI and special effects are necessary to deliver The Mandalorian on a TV budget, but the crew is also using puppets, animatronics, and special effects makeup whenever possible. For example, Favreau really wanted to make a model of the Razor Crest, the Mandalorian's ship, to use during production. Industrial Light and Magic's art staff were apparently so excited about the idea that they didn't just make a model. Unprompted, they reportedly went home and built a camera rig in their garages, recreating the hardware that was used to make Star Wars back in 1977. With a team that dedicated, it's unsurprising that The Mandalorian became an instant hit with viewers all over the world.